Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on this week's episode of Scoreboard, we're joined by Peter Hatzoglou. Peter, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Peter, I'm going to start with 2024. It's December now. It's summer. The Gabba Test is about to begin. Cricket's on the telly. How's your 2024 been?
It's been, I think it's such a wave, such a roller coaster in cricket. I mean, 2023 was an amazing year for me. I played in 7 different franchise teams, I think, played all around the world. I still sort of played all around the world this year, but not to the same sort of level. So it's so variable, this franchise cricket world that I'm living in, I suppose. And yeah, I'm just like constantly riding the wave. I just got back from the Cayman Islands playing in a T10 competition over there. We've obviously got the Big Bash, which is about to commence now. And then after the Big Bash, I've got Dubai for the T20, which is a really, really high quality competition where they've got 9 overseas players per team and IPL stars throughout. So really excited, but geez, it's such a wave and such a roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that. Your journey with cricket, it's quite unique. Do you want to talk about that and how you were sort of playing club cricket, but then all of a sudden shot into the spotlight?
Yeah, so I was never going to be a cricketer, Chris. I enjoy my cricket. I played sort of for recreation and for leisure, and it was great. I actually got through to year 12, took the year off, just focused on my studies. I wanted to get into my, the degree I wanted to do, got into that. And then I sort of picked cricket back up again after I finished my high school. So I played at Sunshine Heights Cricket Club, and up until that point, I was 18, 19, finished high school. I was just playing for fun with mates. I had my coach at the time, a guy named Luke Simpson, who's, I say coach, he's really just like, he told me to bowl with more energy, and my interpretation of that was to bowl a bit faster. So I sort of took that, bowled a bit faster, and that was sort of the birth of the sort of leg spin I bowl today, which has got me through the grades in Premier Cricket and into the Big Bash, with the help of COVID sort of opening things up for me as well. I was a real beneficiary of that. So yeah, it's just a crazy journey, and I'm still sort of here after 4 years of. I think this is my 5th year of Big Bash now. So
yeah, and you're one of the sort of I suppose a minority groups, but growing in terms of professional T20 players. Is there a sort of like a WhatsApp group that you guys hang out with that don't play Shield and they don't play Test match cricket, but they travel the world and play cricket for a living?
Yeah, I mean, I've advocated for a WhatsApp group, but we haven't got it up yet. But no, yeah. I mean, there are so many different avenues in cricket now. You've seen, like what's happened with Afghanistan and all the Afghani players is amazing. Like they've just sort of come from out of nowhere over the last 10 years, and they're in. I think they made the World Cup semi-final recently. So. Yeah, there's just such opportunity with all the T20 and the T10 stuff as well around the world. So yeah, more and more players are going down that path. It's got its upside. There's so much good about it. Like you travel the world, and it's pretty amazing to sort of see the world in a way where you're playing a sport you love. Yeah, but with that comes short-term contracts, lots of variability in what you have, where you have it, and what you can expect. So, yeah, it's been good so far, and but it is a roller coaster.
When you were growing up, what did little Peter want to become when he grew up?
I think that's for little Peter. I think like most kids, you want to be a sports person, right? But then I probably saw the realities of that being not in my favor, I guess, as I got further and further through my high school. So I wanted to go into finance. I did go into finance. I worked for KPMG, worked in funds management. Enjoyed that, and then sort of cricket became a thing for me out of nowhere, as I said earlier. So, yeah, It's I'm still sort of I'm still going through my CFA exams in the background, and still keep that stuff alive, I suppose, whilst I'm playing cricket. And I guess I intend on hopping back into the industry once I am done with cricket.
Yeah, the CFA is a pretty tough exam. What level are you up to?
Still level one. I just sat level one in November, so
Oh, you're waiting on the results then?
yeah, I get it in January. So yeah, should be good. I sat it last year and just narrowly failed. So hopefully I'm over the line this year.
How did you cope with being thrusted into that spotlight, as you said, like playing, and then all of a sudden, you're in the Big Bash. You've got a bit of a cult following. You've got Instagram posting about you all the time. You've got people in the stands with your name. I mean, yeah, how did that make you feel?
It was obviously a bizarre thing considering where I'd come from, and I think I had no expectations of the whole thing, which is such a beautiful thing as well. Like when you have no expectations, and you have a total sense of freedom, it's almost like a free hit. So that's sort of, I guess, the approach I took with it. I'd literally taken like a month of leave from work. I was just like, oh, who knows how long this will last. But that was almost really empowering for me as well. So it just opened it up and allowed me to go out there with just really loose shoulders and a clear mind, and I guess it all just sort of panned out well.
And the leg spin, have you always been a spinner, or are you sort of been a batter in your past in terms of top order and have a bit of a swing?
Yeah, I mean, all through high school, I reckon I couldn't pick which one I was, whether I was a batter or a spinner. It became pretty clear that I was more of a bowler than a batsman after I started bowling fast leg spin. It was a bit more natural and suitable, and I was far better at it than I am at batting. But I remember an under-13s cricket coach of mine, a guy named Matthew Shawcross, simply told me to bowl spin because Australians don't play it very well, and I've sort of stuck with it since.
There you go, and it's paid dividends. Being a spinner, obviously you try and work out the batter and how they're going and their different styles and techniques. Are you a big person on data and using and doing your homework on batters, and then I suppose using a plan?
Yeah, so in the shorter formats, especially in like a T10, the batter's going to come at you hard from ball one, so that almost makes you go, right, this is a shorter format, so every ball is worth more in terms of its per ball value. So you need to be onto it from the beginning, otherwise you risk being punished. So data is becoming a really, really important part of the game. As for how much I use it a fair bit. I categorize batters in two sort of broad ways. One is I look at the guys like maybe like the Mitch Marshes and the Alex Hales who want to like step hit and hit you straight down the ground. And then you've got on the other end of the spectrum maybe like Ben Duckett, who played for the Brisbane Heat recently, or I don't know who's another guy, but maybe like Ben Duckett or a Josh Inglis who want to sweep you and reverse sweep you and use the pace on the ball. So I sort of look at players in those two sort of broad categories, and the guys who can do a bit from both, they're the ones who are hardest to bowl to in my experience.
And there will be times where you bowl a couple overs and you get torched, or 3 or 4 overs and it just doesn't work out. How do you sort of pick yourself up from that? But considering the games are so short.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess being hit for six it isn't foreign territory, but fortunately, in a game with so few balls, you can take a wicket the next one, I guess, and everything's set right. So, I think a lot of it is just about playing percentages. Like that you're going to go the journey on occasion, but as long as you're getting hit the right way, I guess. So you want the batter to take disproportionate risks, and if they're getting sixes away, taking those disproportionate risks, then you're happy with that, I suppose, or you take that. But if they're getting easy sixes away because you're bowling, drop kicks at them, then you've got a bit more of an issue on your hands. But if they're having to hit sixes, clearing long boundaries and having to hit it deep fielders and into the wind or whatever, then you take it and you give the batter kudos for it. I mean, what the batters have been able to do, I think they've been able to develop at a really, really fast rate over the past few years. I mean, just some of the shots that people are playing and inventing and developing is it's really impressive, and it's I think it's probably it's obvious. I mean, the scoring rates and the average team scores and things like that have gone right up. So
I'm curious to know about that, where you've got T20 players like yourself, but then you've also got Test players that come back and play T20 and they perform really well, but their variation in their training, their variation in their game, but then also you've seen Test cricket scores go up. So it's sort of like, how are you thinking about the future of cricket?
As for, I mean, obviously you've seen what England have done, right, where they've sort of changed their approach in Test cricket entirely. The game's in a really interesting point. I mean, you've got Indian private equity groups purchasing county cricket teams, and the 100 teams are being sold off right now. American PE is getting involved in the whole purchase of that, along with Indian groups as well. Cricket's at a really interesting point. It's no secret. The T20 stuff is becoming but the IPL is the biggest thing in cricket. I think that's pretty clear and unanimous. So IPL is huge, and I suppose the effects of that are just being felt through the whole game. I mean, Test cricket's still, it's an amazing thing in the Australian summer. Sort of the Australian public, stop and watch some Test cricket, and it's a great traditional thing that we all sort of do through the December-January period. I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, as I always grew up watching the Big Bash, and that was like something that I felt was really cool. I'm probably one of the first generations who sort of grew up with the Big Bash, I guess. So I sort of view, I suppose, the Big Bash and Test cricket as I always thought the Big Bash was something that I could make, whereas Test cricket I always thought of something that was a lot harder to achieve. So I suppose just by virtue of that, I thought about T20s a lot more.
And then the teams that you've played for in Team 20, I think you mentioned a number of different franchises that you've played for. You're there for a reasonably short period of time. How does the team dynamics work, and the culture putting together a team for a short period of time, and then you move on and now you meet some new players?
Yeah, it's a real challenge that's unique to the sport and the environment that we're in, and that's where I think a lot of coaches and team managers and owners will strategically select guys who can galvanize a group really well, and not just galvanize a group of Australians, but galvanize a group of people from all over the world. I mean, you have to be really culturally aware and culturally sort of competent, I suppose. In playing with teams where you've got, you might have two guys from the Caribbean, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Australia, England, New Zealand, whatever. So you got to, even like Afrikaans guys from South Africa. So you got to have people who are worldly, I suppose, and aware of different cultures and able to come together into a group. What I will say though is you do play with and against guys so often, and we're often in the same sort of hotels as well. So there's a lot of crossover, and although we're playing in a new team with new players, we've often played against them, and we've got an awareness and we all sort of know each other, I suppose. Has
there been any big stars where that you've known their name and they haven't known your name?
Oh yeah, that's that's happened before. I remember I played a golf with I won't name his name, a prominent South African, former South African cricketer. I reckon I was in the cart with him the whole round, and he didn't know my name the whole round. Which is,
It's like, who's this bloke? You're like,
he
play
kept
cricket.
he kept on calling me buddy or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but he was a lovely guy. He knows me now, but he didn't at that point.
Yeah. And how do you go with all the fame and the selfies and the supporters and people knowing your name and sort of, can I get an autograph? Can I get a selfie?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? We had a Hurricanes practice match yesterday. This bloody umpire, 2 LBWs, I'm still spewing about it. I'm still not over it, clearly. Didn't give me LBWs. Then after the game, he comes up to me, he gets a selfie. I'm like, come on, man. You could have at least give me one of them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Put the finger up at least just once. Yeah.
Nah, it's I mean, it's a great thing. It's cool to have people, watch and take an interest in you. And I mean, I'm obviously not dealing with it in the same sort of way that David Warner or Faf du Plessis or whoever else would deal with it. I mean, I've seen it firsthand with them. It's like, it's eye opening. I mean, it's kind of mad. Like, they almost need bloody security with them wherever they go. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Yeah, I can't speak on what it's like for them, but yeah, I mean, as for me, it's nice when it happens because it doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, you did mention earlier that you're with low expectations in your head, broadly speaking, that you're a bit more freer to play cricket. I'm curious to know what your relationship with cricket is and how it's sort of, or if it has changed in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, of course it has changed. I mean, I'm doing it for a job now, for one. So when you're relying on it for an income, it does become a lot more different to, rolling in on a Saturday morning playing under 15s. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. It has to become different for you. I still really enjoy the game. I sort of think about just wanting to get better and just wanting to improve and put my energy into my training and my preparation and just enjoying. I mean, it's a cliche, but just enjoying the process of getting better. And that's sort of where I direct my energy, rather than, focusing on, oh, gee, like, I want to be selected in this team or picked in this squad or, in this franchise at this auction. Yeah, again, cliche, but it's just about controlling controllables and focusing in on them.
Yeah. What do you think has made you, rise to where you are now versus some other leggies? Have you got, Paul Roos in a previous interview called it his superpower. He doubled down. He focused on something that he was really good at and honed in, not sort of letting the other areas go, but sort of going, actually, I'm really good at one part, double down. What do you think you're really good at?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm actually more of a generalist rather than a specialist. If we're to use that Paul Roos example, I sort of take a lot of interest in a lot of different things, and I like the way they can all sort of complement each other and tie in with one another. So, for example, like, I had a background playing soccer as a junior, and I think that's really helped with my footwork and my sort of agility now in my cricketing career. And there are so many things I can take from so many different places. Even my career in like, I was a data analyst. I started out as a Zenith Investment Partners, the fund management sort of ratings group that I worked for. And I guess, just by the nature of that, I've taken a liking to the analytical side of cricket. So yeah, I like the way that my career outside of cricket has helped ease the pressure, I suppose, on the income I need to earn from cricket to, sustain my lifestyle and everything like that, and set up, whatever. Yeah, that's been really freeing for me. I sort of forgotten the question now. What
It was still, I think I was talking about the relationship with cricket, but I've got to ask another question on the data and the stats side of things. Oh, no, it was your superpower. That's right. What your superpower was.
Yeah. Okay.
And you said you're a generalist, but the stats. Are you a bit of a stats nerd then? Is that what people sort of know you for?
I wouldn't. Yeah, like, I enjoy it. I see. The game. Yeah, I think there's a lot of upside in the data and everything like that. I wouldn't say like I'm super into it, because also my bowling is fairly unique for anyone who's seen it. So if I'm to look at numbers for a batter versus a right leg spinner, often it actually sort of doesn't fully apply to me as well. So data is is great, but it's still you got to put an asterisk next to it as well, and apply it to your own set of, or your own game, I suppose. So as for my superpower, I enjoy a lot of different things, and because of that, I think it takes the pressure off of the one thing being cricket. That's that's I look at that as a strength. I don't know about a superpower, but a strength.
Strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I suppose the pressure and the nerves and getting your head right as well. I suppose in physical and mental strength. How have you gone about making sure you're on top of both?
Yeah, as I say, when you're going from short-term contract to short-term contract, country to country, you don't know where you're going to be, what, how much, whatever. There are associated stress and pressures with that, but with my background in my previous career, and I'm doing CFA exams, and I'm still keeping that sort of stuff alive. It takes the pressure off, and it goes a long way to keeping your head right. That's for sure.
And then you mentioned the CFA. Is there something that you want to get into? Do you want to get into funds management again? Do you want to be a sell side or buy side?
I've kept really close ties with a lot of the people at Zenith Investment Partners, along with people at KPMG as well, to be honest. And I'm still sort of working out what I want to do. As for buy side or sell side, I mean, I don't know. Like, I suppose I just want to fit in somewhere in the ecosystem, in something I enjoy. I really did enjoy my time in the investments industry, as I did it at KPMG as well. To be honest, I was in internal audit there. I think I just sort of enjoy learning, and you're always sort of doing that. I think I'm more of a relationships guy, so it probably lends itself.
That's a superpower in its own right as well. Don't forget, networking is very important in life. I am interested to know on your LinkedIn profile, you're part of the Athletic Ventures. I'm curious to know about that in regards to startups and investing and how you can add some value.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, founders are looking for, they're either looking for money or awareness building, right? And athletes, having athletes tied in with your brand and what you're trying to do is a great way of building awareness. So there's a good little efficiency there, and the guys at Athletic Ventures, Matt DeBoer and others have done a really good job in building it out. They've just launched a fund. They've been operating on a sort of deal by deal basis for a number of years now, as they sort of continue to build credibility, and they've launched a fund now, and it's fully or oversubscribed actually. So kudos to those guys. They've done so well, and I'm full of admiration for I think it's Matt DeBoer, Matt Dellavedova,
yep.
And others as well. Even Ed Cowan, former cricketer, he's some sort of advisor to him as well. So they've done really well in what they've built, and it's great to have a bit of a relationship with Matt DeBoer there.
Have you got any?
Not that I'm involved in the day to day of it or anything like that. I'm just like a member, as are many Australian athletes.
Yeah, no. Have you had any crazy ideas through your youth that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or a founder?
Yeah, I've had a few. I've always had a bit of a I suppose, a spark there. I think where my passions lie right now is in that sort of athlete investment space, particularly cricketers, and tying in the Indian angle to it. There's so much excitement and buzz around India. I spend, I've been there 3 times in the last year. And I've sort of been working on a few things, just trying to tie in, cricketers, India, and founders in the background, which has been really exciting. We've got a few sort of live deals in the works right now, around paddle tennis, which you may have heard of, and
it's a very large industry in the US.
Yeah. Well, that'd be pickleball. Paddle is more of like the European equivalent, which is like it has glass panels and it's similar to pickleball.
Actually, I think one of my mates in the Philippines recently played it. I think he was showing. I think it's quite big in maybe in Manila.
Yeah. It's seems like the place. Yeah, all those sort of places seem to love it. I mean, where you've got good weather and you can sort of get out year round, sort of like Brisbane.
Well, we got 90% humidity today. I think it rained before, so it's been awfully muggy. So it'll be an interesting day at the cricket. I think there'll be a few people that will be using a towel across their forehead.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Hey, Peter, I'm going to ask a few questions about your personality and your personality traits and what makes you who you are. I'm going to start with the word confident, because I'm a 50-50 with this. I think you're a very confident person, but I don't know whether you think yourself as confident.
Yeah, I'd say I'm confident, but you never want to come across as you always want to be humble. You never want to be arrogant or over the top or whatever in that way. So, yeah. I do think I'm pretty confident, but yeah, I obviously still think I've got a long way to go as well, and so much to learn. And I think cricket is a great accelerator. When you're playing professional sport and you're traveling the world and you're having all these experiences, it really does accelerate your development in so many ways. But yeah, I mean, I think just as I keep learning and keep developing, you build confidence, right? So. Just want to focus on that.
And traveling around the world and playing in different teams, I assume you're pretty structured.
Structured in my life is a total mess in that I'm living out of a suitcase and I'm going from one place to the next all the time, and I don't know where that's going to be often. So very unstructured in that sort of way. But yeah, you've got a few systems in place and structures in place to keep some things consistent around the chaos of getting up and going and moving around. And like the CFA, for example, which we've spoken a bit about today, that's something that through the October-November period, it's a bit of over the years now, I've noticed that it's a bit of a quiet period in the T20 franchise calendar. So, I've always sort of structured things in a way where I allow myself a window to be able to sit and study for that, or how I have over the past 2 years now. So,
hopefully next year you'll be doing round 2, right? And then the following round 3 after that. Yeah.
I hope so. Bloody hope so. I mean, I can't fail again, right?
Superstitious?
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
No. You get nervous?
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I think so. Probably more and more the further along I've gotten in this. Like as cricket's become, I suppose, more and more my primary focus. When I started out in the Big Bash, I mean, it was, as I said earlier, it was like a free hit. It was just like I was just on leave from work and I was just having this cricket holiday effectively. So as I've had more and more of a career to sort of like protect, it's become a bit more like nervous energy builds around that. And I've sort of done a lot of work to relinquish those expectations and I suppose the whole thing around protecting what I've got to find that freedom again. That's what I've sort of spent a lot of this year on, actually, just finding that freedom that I once had and that served me so well in the past.
When you punched in your annual leave, do they ask for a reason? Did you have to say that? You have to like sort of put in, actually I'm playing BBL?
I had Michael Klinger called me during my lunch break one Friday, I think it was, and I just called my manager straight after and let her know that I'd been sort of selected to play in this Big Bash. And I mean, all the guys at work like loved it. They were like, they always knew I played cricket, and one guy was still very fortunate to be close to him now. Called me the Sheik of Tweak at work and stuff like that. We always joked around with it, and yeah, it's they were excellent.
And
both at KPMG and Zenith.
Did they? I was going to say, did they put a KPMG cricket team together and they just hooked you in just to sort of a little super sub?
That's another story, actually. When I resigned from KPMG, I effectively, the reason was Shane Warne had been really good to me on commentary. I sort of reached out to him after the first Big Bash season and just said, look, like, thanks. Obviously, whenever you throw your weight behind someone, it goes a long way, and you know that, so you don't have to do that, and you did that for me, so like, thank you. And yeah, we sort of like developed a little bit of a relationship. Nothing. I don't want to like overstate it or anything like that. But he then sort of said, right, come over to the UK, play some club cricket. I'll get you as a wild card in my 100 team, the London Spirit. And then I sort of I took that to my partner at work at the time, and I was just like, hey, this has happened, and he's like, well, you better quit. If you're not going to get out of here, I'm sacking you. So
and you go back to Warnie and say, sorry, mate, I'm just doing an audit at the moment, so I think I'll be just doing that. You did mention a little bit of downtime you study. Obviously you play cricket, then there's gaps in between. Do you have a little hobby? Is there something out there that people don't know about you?
I mean, hobbies, it's fun, right? Because if I was working at Zenith or KPMG, I'd say, oh, my hobby's cricket, and now I'm in cricket, right? So I can't say my hobby's bloody investments, right? That's just strange. So I struggle finding a hobby. But I don't know, like, what do I do? Like, bloody hell, you like getting out for coffees with mates? I haven't got a good answer for you on that.
Yeah, there you go. So you enjoy a coffee? You're not a tea man?
I like a tea after I've had 4 coffees, but otherwise, yeah, I'll have a coffee.
Do you have a coffee before you play, or is it sort of you on game day, no coffees?
No, I drink coffees. I'm pretty casual with my preparation, maybe too casual. I don't know. Just I don't think about what I eat and when I eat it and everything. I just sort of, if food's there and coffee's there, I'll go for it.
And then another trait, which is obviously pretty well known to high performance athletes, is resilience. Are you a resilient person?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. I've developed. I've had to develop more and more resilience over the years. I mean, my cricket career to this point has sort of been my cricket career for the first 3 years or 4 years of it was just on like a continual uptrend. I won the Rookie of the Year at the Big Bash, won 2 premierships at the Scorchers, played all around the world in pretty much every competition except the IPL, and things were just like amazing for me. And then sort of got to Hobart last year, and things didn't on a personal level, or for the team for that matter, didn't sort of play out in a way that I would have liked, I guess. But and I've had to sort of go back to the drawing board after that season, and I got a coach who's been excellent for me, a guy named Carl Crowe, who's a leading spin bowling coach around the world. Works with a number of different franchises, Kolkata mainly in the IPL, and works with a number of different players too. He's been excellent for me, and as I speak to more and more cricketers who've sort of had all the successes you could hope for in the game, they all sort of talk. They've all had something go drastically wrong for them at some stage, or someone didn't back them to be anything in the game. And you just have to keep fronting up, keep developing, keep wanting to develop, keep staying hungry, and keep sort of, being in love with just getting better. That's I think that's going to serve you well, and I feel like that's serving me well at the minute, as I look to sort of redeem myself after last year, I suppose.
Yeah, I've got. You mentioned about the being better and enjoying the game, and my kids play cricket. Kids play lots of sports. What's some advice that you can give to kids out there? Because the professional area is now wider and far in terms of where you can go and what you can do, not just cricket, but other sports. And the money as well is obviously a full-time job. So what's some advice you can give to kids out there now that are playing sport?
I mean, I think the lessons learned in sport are so great. Like we talked about relationships earlier. Sport is a great way of teaching kids how to build relationships, how to operate in teams, how to do all that. And those lessons that's something I'll forever be grateful for. And if I ever go on to have kids, I'll definitely be getting them into sport for reasons like that. The resilience piece is also so important. The persistence, just continually showing up. You learn a lot about, like which other 19-year-old is having to go through contract negotiations and stuff like that. So I talk about cricket accelerating a lot of things for you. It definitely accelerated a lot of things for me like that, just around, relationships, building relationships, maintaining relationships, operating in teams. And then in a more sort of like commercial way, you've then got contracts and stuff like that, and everything in that sort of way. And even things like, your insurance, like how you protected in the event of an injury, or not only an injury here but an injury abroad as well. Like you have to look at yourself as, especially doing what I'm doing in the freelance sort of franchise cricket space. You got to look at yourself as a business and an asset, I suppose. And it's interesting in that way.
One last question. I haven't asked this before to any athletes, but you travel a lot for your work, and probably more so than most cricketers. How do you go about managing your sleep patterns?
I've got a Whoop, which helps a little bit. At least it gives me some insight. No, but I'm pretty bad with my sleep, to be honest with you. Like horrible, in fact. I think a lot of it, has to do with, when you're traveling and crossing time zones, you struggle with the jet lag and to build consistency in your sleep. The one thing I do think we have on our side in the T20 space is that you're playing night games. So often you can just sort of like shut your blinds, and if you don't get to bed, at the time you want to get to bed to go to sleep, you can sort of get to bed a bit later and sleep in a bit later, and you can still sort of round out your hours that way. But they talk about what do they call the circadian, whatever it's called, and
REM.
REM and all that sort of stuff, and sort of consistency in sleep and everything like that. And that's a struggle.
Yeah, no, I think it must be tough, certainly. And have you got some travel tips for people out there that travel quite a lot?
Oh, travel light. I don't know. I don't know if you've heard that before.
Travel light. All right, Peter, we're going to leave it there, mate. Thank you so much for being part of the Scoreboard podcast. I really do appreciate your time in Hobart today, and also I wish you the best of luck for the upcoming BBL, and look forward to catching up.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for your time.